kick off. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this evening with our deep dive. We have the absolute pleasure of having Emily Ryan from Coonamble Public School, who I'll introduce in just a moment. For those of you that are joining us, I will go through some housekeeping, and for those of you that are in the future, we will be recording this, so it is available to watch with your teams or to share amongst yourselves. First of all, I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to the elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today. Just a tiny bit on the housekeeping. As I mentioned, this will be recorded. I just want to thank Emily so much for volunteering her time to be here to share their journey at Coonamble Public. The other thing is, it is an interactive webinar, so you'll notice there's a chat. We have a team of staff members on the chat. Please pop in questions. So as much as I've got an idea of the questions I'd like to ask Emily, this is really about you. And one of the things that we're really committed to at Life Skills Go is really knowledge sharing, and being able to support different ways. Every school will use Life Skills Go in their own way, and it's really lovely to hear from on the ground what's happening. At the end, there will be a very, very brief survey. We'd be really grateful if you wouldn't mind filling it out so that we can get an idea of topics and areas and other conversations that you'd like us to cover. As I mentioned, my name's Nikki Bonus. I'm the founder and the CEO of Life Skills Go. I won't read my bio and we won't stay on me for too long because we're not here for me, we're here for Emily. What I would say is that Life Skills Go exists to ensure that no child falls through the gaps and that the right people get the right information at the right time and it becomes actionable data. I personally am really excited. I have a little bit of back-end history to Emily and to Coonamble. We had the privilege of going out there on one of our road trips, and actually some of our staff were at Emily's school. It's now your school, Emily, at Emily's school. And the feedback from the community, the way the school operated, from your leadership team right through to your teachers and your SLSOs, and not only the way that our team felt, but the memories and the support and the stories of community and the stories of the students was something that really impacted our team. And I just want to say thank you. I'm not going to read your bio, but I am going to, drop you in the ocean. And I'd love to ask you a question, Emily. It's term 4. And tiredness is everywhere. It's that we work in those troughs, and term 4 can feel a little bit like Thomas the Tank Train. It's like, I think I can, we can get there. And yet staying present, because we talk about attendance really mattering, and every day counts, but so does being present, and so does being really fully available and really there every day. What gets you up every single day and keeps you committed to your job?
I I love my job. I have always loved teaching. It's what I've wanted to do forever. So I don't necessarily struggle every morning to get up and to want to go to my job. But I suppose a big thing that does drive me is the difference that I make in these students' lives and the processes that we have in place to help support students. So knowing that they've got a safe place for 6 hours a day is such a big thing for our children. So, I suppose that's really what drives my passion for everything and every day.
I absolutely love that. I get asked a lot, what motivates you? And I'm like, the kids, the
Yeah.
kids. I just want to get up every day knowing that I've made a difference. And I'm the same. Like I've never felt like I have to work. Yes, I'm tired. Yes, I get a bit stressed. Yes, I get a bit run down. But that privilege of knowing that you can alter the course of someone's life forever. I think there's such a privilege in that role that teachers have and that we all have when we're in front of young people. And, and the evidence shows us, one caring, supportive adult that has shown us something different can alter the course of a young person's life. So thank you. I loved your answer. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your community, sort of the context and the socioeconomic sort of graphic, the whole demographics. And because I know it's a pretty unique, very special, keep saying that, very special little place.
So we are 2 hours from our closest city, so in a little town called Coonamble. So Dubbo being our closest city. We have two little IGAs, and we are about 3,000. So we go between 2,700, 2,900, roughly 3,000 for the district. So our district is quite large. We have currently 240 to 250 students enrolled, including preschool, and we sit anywhere between 89 to 93% Aboriginal population. So we are a low socioeconomic community, and we're a connected community. So we put a lot of our resources into supporting wellbeing. So just in our school, we employ an AP, so an assistant principal wellbeing. We also then fund a teacher for our Malian room, which is our wellbeing hub, and an SLSO in that room. We school fund a school psychologist, as well as a counsellor in training who we put under our wellbeing officer, and she does a lot of one-on-one support driven from our school psychologist, or school funded psychologist, sorry. Then we also employ a youth mentor as well. And then we have our AEO on hand. So we put a lot of our resources into wellbeing because we know it is what drives our everyday practice. If kids are not in class or at school, then where are they and what are they doing? And how can we best support these students the most? And so that's why we put our resources where we need to.
And I know that you took over the role, so I know that Life Skills Go, when we were talking with her initially, we were talking around the traditional ways that we measure wellbeing, say attendance, behaviour, teachers' observation, maybe an anonymous survey once a year that's not really giving information wasn't enough. And I know that the school was looking for more timely interventions to really get underneath the hood of behaviour and really understand in real time what was happening for your young people. And I suppose, you're new to this role this year and you've picked this up. What has been sort of a game changer for you around having real-time data? Like on a practical level, what has been some of the benefits for you?
Yeah, well, I suppose if we go back, I think it's 6 years, it could be longer, it could be even 8 years now, we implemented the Malian room, which is our wellbeing hub. It had a significant impact, and it was driven by the previous assistant principal wellbeing and our school funded psychologist. It had significant impact, and then we kind of were getting to, well, what else do we need to do now? So we had actually been on a trial for Life Skills Go for 12 to 18 months, and we were kind of using it, but we were like, we could do this better. So our previous assistant principal said, I would really like to do the check-in and get our wellbeing officer and myself to go and dip into classrooms. We had a change of staff in our Malian room this year, and he said, I'd like to be in classrooms more. So therefore, then we developed what our Life Skills Go looks like now, which we close the Malian room from 9 till 10:30 every morning, and our whole wellbeing team meet if we can, or we have a little group chat that our Malian teacher runs. So every classroom checks in and does a Berry Street morning circle, and from that check-in, we then run the report. We send a message to everyone, these are the students who aren't ready to learn. and then we divide and conquer. So we are in classrooms every morning, helping children get ready to learn. If they need food, then we sort food. If they need, just a little bit of extra tender love and care, we help sort that too. It might we had one student that was checking in angry every day just because he wanted to see our Malian room teacher. And
Oh,
this was a child who was coming out of class so regularly. So he does not access the Malian room other than when his planned time is, really at all now. Because of a morning we go in, we check he's settled, he's comfortable, and his maturity has really grown as well. So it's little successes like that we think we've had some nice impact with throughout 2025. But we do have, things that we do need to adjust and change for 2026 as well.
but I think, and I'm just going to call you out on this one. Like, they're not little changes. I think that, the system that you've got is everyone checks in, they do their morning circle, the team is actually responsive to the real-time data. You're then identifying who might need some additional help, where I imagine, it wouldn't be unknown that I love that story, that little person's story that you shared about angry. Like, I always do this and I'm so sorry, but I have to throw this in. But every check-in is a point of communication. And sometimes they're really colourful behaviours, but they're trying to get a need met that they don't know how to ask for. And that little guy was like, I want the Malian teacher. I want the Malian teacher. I want the Malian teacher. And eventually, we can change that behaviour because every child wants to be seen. They want to be seen and they want to feel safe and they want to feel secure and they want to feel like they can begin to self-soothe. The system that you've just a little adjustment, like that system, like, I'm sorry, I'm calling you out on this one because that is a whole school, process. That you've set something up. You're like, if we look at the CEF3, and I think because you came through from a program that the department was running and it was run in a different way. So when we started working with you in the way that we would normally work with you, one of the key things we say is make sure that that it's a simple system, that it's not going to take all day, and that you've got at least someone's checking and that you're seeing the children and you're not filling out behavioural incidents for the rest of the day, or you're not you're getting ahead. And I think I love that story, and I think that small little thing, that's not a small little thing. I just want to acknowledge you and the whole team who've brought that all together. And I'm just wondering, how have the rest of the staff felt, or the leadership team felt, around that change in your implementation?
I was going to actually talk about that after. So we had a little bit of like, oh, well, that's going to be hard at the start. And I said it's a short-term thing for a big gain. So we just need to try it, and if it's not working, we'll change it. So term one, our PB4L data looked really good actually. It was and then it got staff talking. We really enjoy when you guys pop in of a morning. Oh, do you think that you could stay a little bit longer? And look, we have our good days, we have our bad days, as any school does, but it really has been a positive effect across the whole staff, which is great. And the staff feel more supported of a morning. So it's it's very encouraging that way. And we've adjusted and changed things along the way. So term one, we were only doing the check-in and running the data. Then we started to dip into looking at some of the lessons and having a go at the lessons if you wanted to. Come the end, like term 2, term 3, we really then went into righto, instead of teaching our own PB4L lessons, we're going to teach Life Skills Go in that slot. And so we were picking lessons from Life Skills Go to just give the staff, a bit of experience in the program itself. And now we're looking at, staff dip into it when you see needed. And we're now looking at so we will be implementing the PDHPE syllabus from next year. So we're looking at how that will, so we're waiting to look at the sample units actually.
And they've all been updated with the new curriculum codes. So there we go.
Then we can pull the department sample units and our life skills go units, and then work out how we can embed them together. So we're pretty excited for what that'll look like next year. And then we're also looking at adding the extra check-in, so after every session. So
wow.
And then closing Mally in for a period of time after every session and going back into classrooms because it has had such a positive effect. And classroom teachers are asking for it. So yeah.
And what do you like? So I think there's a few things there. And again, those of you that are in the webinar, please put your questions through because, and I don't say that I say this lightly, I say this with full respect for education. I think one of the hardest things is to implement something new because there's always something new and there's always competing priorities. And I sort of feel a little bit like I can be very truthful about this because I've been around for nearly 20 years in this area. So I've worked for a really long time in the area of social emotional learning in schools. But schools have a tendency to try something and throw it out, try something and throw it out, and it gets flicked. And I think what we have seen is, when we onboard people, we go start really slowly. Like make the habit, make sure everyone knows why, the young people know why, the teachers know why, the leadership term knows why. Be consistent, but ensure that it happens, but go slowly. And then building on it like over a 3-year period and it becomes culture. And I think a few things that you've just said then is, the teachers have asked for it. It did take a little bit more time at the beginning, and I'm sure that there was reasons, the teachers wouldn't have been, or your team wouldn't have been out there in the classrooms if there wasn't a need, and it's trying to ensure that we're addressing and seeing those needs first up in real time and seeing those needs going down and stabilizing within reason. Like we're all human. Like I think, the reality is, and you said it really well, like we're not looking for a community of young people that are happy 100% of the time. That's not wellbeing. It's not. And it's not like other KLAs where we just bank in all of the, the levels and the grades and this and assessments. We want to ensure that they do have those tools. How did you get teacher buy-in?
Steph and Lucia were amazing.
So implementation, no, but I think that's important.
Yeah, I believe, and feedback from staff was we started too much too quickly. So we wanted them to check in all the time, and they were just, a little bit overwhelmed by it all to start off with. So we really had to pull it back. So when we pulled it right back and we were putting the people power behind it as well, we had more impact. But big staff buy-in, Steph was actually amazing to listen to in a staff meeting. And it was actually really good because Lucia's lessons that she ran, the kids loved. They really loved that, and the teachers really loved the resources. But Steph actually talking from a executive school experience that is very similar to ours. They were using Second Step, PB4L, and Life Skills Go. They really felt that they could connect with that. And so that was great. That was, I really felt we had a big shift then. And so that's been great as well. And then we had another staff meeting. I just love how well resourced it is. So, we don't buy into everything that you guys have to offer.
It's not.
because we just don't have the staff meeting ability to be able to do that. But we were like, right, they need a bit of assistance with lessons. So the offer was there. I said, look, we're free this week. Is it available? And your team got back to me so quickly and they're like, yep, lock it in. I said, look, I need from 3:30 to 4:30. They're like, no worries. And so it was really great because then we were able to have a one-on-one lesson and go through it on the board. They had their laptops there at the same time. They were engaging in the platform. And that was also really good buy-in because it's interactive. It's real time. And they then started to play with it a little bit more. And that's when that's now where we're at, is where we really adjusted the check-in to their own class needs. And that brought more buy-in, which was great.
I guess it's making me smile. Like it's, I start off going, start really slowly, be really consistent, and everyone jumps in. They go really, and it's lovely to hear because you find your rhythm, and there is a lot there, but you go at the pace of your own school, your own community. And a really big thing I say constantly is we have a team waiting to support. Like that's their job, and they eagerly jump in there and support schools. And we have that crossover from schools like Guildford West, who I am going to shout out to an incredible principal, Kerry, who allows Steph, and also Shortlands Public in Newcastle, who his principal allows him. Like there's people now that are going and supporting communities because they've seen the impact in their own community. And I think all schools need to know that it works in their context and how does it work, and be able to ask those questions. So I really, really appreciate that. And thank you. And I definitely will make sure my team listen to this because that's what they love doing, and being there and supporting. And I think there's one thing to have a customer service desk where you take care of technology, and there's another thing to have a whole lot of subject matter specialist teachers that can jump in and work with you on lessons and interpreting data and being in your meetings like a Steph-esque when you are starting to action that data. So, we've been talking a lot about data and action and real-time insight and real-time response. Can you share a moment when Life Skills Go data helped your team sort of provide timely support for a student who might otherwise not have been seen?
Yeah. So we had a student who, is a pleasure. She is an absolute pleasure to teach. You don't even know she's there. She turns up to school, she's smiling, she seems so happy. She follows all the rules, she never puts a foot out of place. She started checking in as sad, and we were like, oh, this is interesting because she doesn't look sad. We ended up unpacking that there was huge DV at home. So we had this young girl was just putting on a brave face. So we were chatting with her and unpacking some stuff, and mum and dad had been arguing, and it was affecting her. But she said, "I've come to school to learn." So she was putting on such a brave face, but so now she has intervention probably every couple of weeks, and we just pull her, check in, have a yarn, and she is like feels she's being heard and is understood now, which is great. And so she doesn't check in often as sad. Instead, she'll say that she just needs to come and have a chat. So she's happy to be at school. But yet sometimes it's just so interesting when those kids that are going under the radar start to check in as things that you just didn't think about. And that's probably been such a big eye-opener for us because, you might have 5 big behaviours. And so your energy goes into, catering for those 5 big behaviours. because they consume a lot of the day. So we found this is a really great chance to look at those kids that aren't necessarily behaviours, but they also have stuff going on. And so that was probably one of the biggest things that not only our wellbeing team, but also teachers were like, oh, did you see that such and such checked in as angry today? And so that there must be something going on. So they'll often even ring us before we're running the data to be like, such and such checked in as angry. I don't think something's right. So that's been great too.
We talk about, so I feel quite emotional hearing that story because I won't unpack that whole story, but I think they're the stories that often get missed because you're right. We're often focused on that 2%. And, where's Timmy? He's up a tree throwing rocks at everyone. Where's everyone standing at the bottom of the tree waiting for Timmy to come down? And then everyone else in the school is just doing their thing and they're not getting seen. Same when we've got someone sick at home but those masking students or those students that, we hear story after story of, we don't know what's happening in people's homes. Anger might look very, very different and it becomes very, very normal, a behavior that is not normal and it's normalized at home. But gradually, as they're starting to go through school, they're realizing something's not right, and they'll indicate in a different way. And to be able to move in there and to be able to wrap support and have intervention and have that safety and that security is that young person might have made it through the whole of primary school without being seen. Our happy little person who's really good at masking and saying that they just love school. And you made me think about, we have quite a lot of communities that have a lot of children in out-of-home care. And the research that we were doing with them is they do a check-in and a check-out because what they find is their young people are so happy turning up in the morning. They're ecstatic to be with their favorite people and their teachers that they know love them. But usually their behavior starts to dip off after lunchtime and other behaviors begin to show. And they started to do this check-in, check-out system. And it was a completely different story of being able to have a look at, it's okay to be angry one day, but if I'm angry on Monday and Friday, every week after week, they're trying to tell me something they don't have words for. And there's a lot of things that we can pick up. Thank you so much for sharing that story. And thank you. I think, it's, and
And
how,
then you have,
sorry, no,
I was to say,
please.
then you have the flip side of, that some students are checking in excited and something, they just want to tell you what's happened on the weekend. And so we have that opportunity for them to be like, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, right, I'm ready to learn it. Like they just want to tell someone. So that's also really nice too.
And thank you for raising that because we can get caught up on those big stories over here. But the reality is, young people, like neuroscience says, young people can't learn if they don't trust the person. Young people can't learn if they are in a large emotion. And young people won't learn if they don't like who's with them. So that's everything about schools are about relationships. Like if we can bring connection forward and if we can create it, like when you speak about your day and when you speak about your school and when you speak about your young people, you smile. You probably don't even notice you do this. But you can feel how much you love your job. And we've also, we've had quite a few staff out there and young people feel that. They know that they want to share those stories. And those stories are really important. Going back to Dan Siegel's 4S's, do we see them? It's not just about seeing sadness or unhappiness. It's about celebrating their joy and what they like and where they thrive. And also at times using that data to go, where is that sweet spot? Like, what is it that you like doing? There's a toss side of that where we can really, we lean back on Mark Scott's, know, value and care for every child. But there is something in that. It's in the teaching standards. How do we know these young people? So what you just said is like, it is a celebration and it might be something like, I just got a new pair of shoes. Like that's enormous. It's like, that's something we can all celebrate in. I suppose sort of, we've had a chat about leadership, we've had a chat about the teachers. I'd love to know, how do the students find the check-in?
Look, we get a little bit of pushback by some of them because they're like, we have to do it again. But it is just a part of the routine now. So
Mm.
every student comes in, they check in, and then we do our morning circle or they do their morning activity. So we've tried to make it really, really kind of consistent across all classes that it is like that. You have the occasional class that will dip down on their check-ins and everything it's very busy and we've just got so much to do. But it's just reminding them that, you know, we're still going to pop in. So it's really important that you actually get your kids to check in. And they might miss a day and then come back. But it's usually, even when we're splitting a class, because where we are located, it's really hard to get casual teachers. So
I can imagine that.
um,
Sorry.
so we often can't cover classes if we have high absences of staff. So if we're splitting a class, even the teachers who are like the executive who are splitting the class will take the kids in, they'll do their check-in and then they'll split. So it just becomes their norm, which is really nice.
And that, you know, little tiny change you made this year, you've created a culture and a habit that says
Yeah.
to, you know, that little tiny change, that says to your young people, I imagine when they arrive at school, we're interested in you. We want to know how you are. Like, that's not a little change. That's, I'm going to have you getting off this webinar going, no, we did that. The whole school did that, but you did do that. And that is the difference between a sense of belonging or not. You know, that it, you know, we break down the science and the evidence. I suppose, you know, looking forward, you mentioned some things like this year's been around, wow, that works. And now we can make some adjustments. And by the sounds of it, some of that adjustments made from some of the data that you're getting in real time, that you're able to make strategic decisions. What's next for you guys? Like, what are you looking at doing?
So this term, so we've covered our wellbeing teacher to have half a day where he'll be running wellbeing programs that have been a lot driven off data. So students who socially aren't really mixing and gelling, so we're bringing a lot of friendship groups in to try and assist with that. So from data wise, that's where we're at next. We're really looking at being able to check in every session. So then we can, you know, see how it progresses throughout the day. That's all probably in the coming 6 months.
That's a lot.
So, this term and next term. But the other thing that we've just done is we've actually just stopped teaching second step. So we were teaching this social emotional program second step, but we felt that students were having more buy-in with the life skills go stuff. So we have we've put more of an emphasis on that and using those values within teaching social emotional learning. So in line with that, we are also a real schools school. So we're in our first year of real schools. So it sounds like we do a lot, but it all seems to just be coming together.
Gels. Like I think, well, that Berry Street real schools and life skills go, I often say that's like the perfect trifecta. Like if you can get that, that's like gold standard.
Yeah, so we're just in our first year of real schools, which a lot of it is also looking at emotions and values, and so we've found that Life Skills Go did such a great job of their value cards, and so using them to help support in restorative conversations, and so that's probably where we want to go to next, is utilizing that a little bit more, because there's so much value in that. So yeah, staff, students, we're kind of hitting everywhere. Staff, students, data, and looking at ways that we can do things to help all three.
And I think that this question might not land with clarity the way that I'd like it to. It's sort of a bit jumbled in my head, so please bear with me. When I think about Coonamble, I think about the photos that Steph and Lucia sent me of cows across the road waiting for them to move, creeks flooding, an IGA, like I've got these images because I was FaceTiming with them when I was in Inverell and things. And I suppose my question in that is, I know how remote your school is. I know how remote it is. With the complexity of how remote it is and how, I'm going to use the word distant your students are, or how, they're sort of, what do you think is more unique to your setting? What do you see is more of a unique issue to your setting, say, versus a metro setting?
Oh, tricky.
I know, and I was trying to nail that question. I was like, because I didn't have quite the right way to sort of describe it, but like I can describe a really metro school. I can describe one, say, in Tari, and yet then you get to Coonamble, and it's like, how would you like what's sort of different there?
I think our space is just so, like, we just have so much space. It's so good. So we're just in the process of, which has been very much driven by the wellbeing team, which is great. I have the best team ever. I really do have the best team ever. So we are, so if you imagine a big long rectangle, we're just from our demountable building where our Mallion is. We just turned the front of our Mallion into a memory garden along the wall. So where our kids who are grieving have a space where they can grieve and make something for their loved ones. It will then go into a sensory garden. So we're in the process of adding it with our chooks. Then we've got our chook yard where we're breeding our own chooks at the moment.
As you do.
Yeah. Which then will go into a native garden. So we were just lucky enough to get a Teachers Federation grant to put some trees. So it'll go into some native tree gardens, into our greenhouse. Then we also have a fish farm. So our greenhouse and fish farm, we've started a kitchen garden program this year to increase attendance and support nutrition and healthy eating. Which then goes into an orchard. And so the orchard will hopefully be expanded to go all the way up the back. Then you swing around as to a big U, and you've got your yarning circle and cultural space up the back, which is amazing. It's such a great facility to have. We've got an outdoor kitchen there, and the space is just expanding. And the plan is that kids will be eventually able to go down and pick their own bush tucker.
Wow.
And then it goes into learning and then circles back around. So it's like I would like to describe it as a circle of key growth. So all of it connects to really, to really support the well-being and learning of our children. And I suppose that is unique to us as we have the space to be able to do that.
Love that. I love that. I always say, I get the privilege of spending a lot of time in a lot of different schools. And I think I said this to you just before we started the webinar. I always say to young, early stage teachers, if you get the chance, go out and work in regional and rural New South Wales, because there is just something magic about the people that work in the communities, the families, the students, and we live in the most incredible country. Yes, and we've got complexities and we have issues and we have all of those things, but there really is something profound that communities like yours and schools like yours, they really are like a big family. And you walk in and you go, this is a community. This is a community. And
I've
yes,
never been to another community that, no matter whose funeral it is, what time of day, our whole main street stops and stands out front of shop. basis. So it's we, as much as we are quite a diverse community, we're actually quite a close-knit community. In times of need, we I just, yeah, we all come together. And I think that really shows in our school community as well, because in times of need, our school community comes together to support whatever it needs to be. And I think positive or negative, it's, yeah, it's actually a pleasure to live and to teach in Coonamble. And I do have the privilege of being a local. So I have grown up and experienced it my whole life. But one thing I do say to anyone who does come out here, I said, just throw yourself into the town and they'll love you.
Yeah.
So the more you throw yourself into our little community, the more our community will really love you.
And I think I can attest that both staff team members felt the same. Even Lucia's on the chat right now, sharing the fear, the love for Coonamble. So, just as we begin to wrap up, we're talking a lot about, data-informed wellbeing, being wellbeing-led. And I know that for my own career journey, I started by delivering social emotional learning programs in schools, and we were doing the face-to-face programs. And I think one of the things that really, really stood out for me was I used to ask people, how are you measuring the impact of these programs? Like, there's one thing to deliver them, but there didn't seem to be a way of having a continuous improvement cycle for well-being. And that was a really long way of asking you a question. Why do you think it's critical, not optional today, to have that kind of process for our young people?
Students won't learn if they're not ready. So, and that goes for all their wellbeing needs. So if you're not meeting their wellbeing needs, they're not going to be ready to learn. And so it's so important that we are preparing children for learning, because they're not going to be able to take on new knowledge or consolidate knowledge if they're in this state. While ever we're here or here, we've got so much more potential of them consolidating and learning new information. A lot of our children sit up here a lot of the time and we don't even know. So it's really, it's really important to really work with our children on their wellbeing and how they can get themselves ready to learn as well.
And I think that agency is it, you're right. I think we established that early on, as, we know that it becomes their habit. If you were to give advice, so, yes, I know that you've only been in this role for 1 year, but if you were sort of giving a piece of advice or some of your best learnt lessons around implementing Life Skills Go who are starting this journey, what would you say?
Go slow to go fast.
I five you. Like, isn't it funny? Because it's really easy to get really excited. And, we see it year after year. And we often feel like we're pulling the brakes on schools, where normally I think, when you're implementing, people are pushing, where we're like, no, slow, slow, slow.
And
But
you definitely need a team.
yeah,
it's not it's not an authoritative thing to just deliver it. It's a team. And yeah, slow it down to have the impact that you need and buy-in from your staff and students.
yeah. And I just want to say, we actually finished on time. We've got 1 minute. How good am I? 7:45. I promised I'd my time monitor. I just want to say thank you to everyone who attended and those who are attending in the future. Emily, are you okay if people reach out to you at Coonamble if they've got questions? Or I always like to ask that because I think thank you for giving of your time and your passion for not only wellbeing, but for teaching and for community. Again, one of the big things that we have at Life Skills Go is really wanting to, yes, there's connected communities, but share knowledge. share knowledge around what's worked and also what hasn't worked. Like, it's really good to talk about, yeah, well, that didn't work for us. It might work for you, but you could try this. And I think bouncing different ideas, and I know that all communities are different. We have some communities that they never see a behavioural incident, but they'll have underlying lots of anxiety and lots of, there's all different kinds of communities out there, and finding schools that are supporting each other, but also finding amazing gems like you that get up and absolutely passionately love what you do every day. And I think it's yeah, it fills me with great joy, because it is, as I said, it's a privilege to stand in front of young people on a daily basis, and knowing that our presence can and does alter the course of their life. So thank you to everyone who jumped in. Thank you to the team who's been in here. Thank you, Michelle. Oh, thank you. I'm glad.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, Michael, it's lovely to see you. We look forward to doing a lot more. Michael, I'm going to ring you tomorrow. Yeah, I love this community, and I love the work you're doing. And thank you for the passion and the energy and the love and the care that you bring every single day to every single community member. Emily, have a beautiful night with your toddler and your sleeping toddler and your beautiful husband, and for volunteering your time. And on behalf of the team at My Skills Go On, thank you for the work that you're all doing out at Coonamble.
No, thank you. Thank you for having us. It was a pleasure.
You're absolutely welcome. You take care. I don't think I've stopped smiling the whole webinar. Thank you. I'm like a little Cheshire cat. Okay. You take care and go and have a
You
well-earned
too.
break.
Thank you. Bye.